It drifted through the dark for 10,000 years. Cold, silent, alone. A broken moon turned around it like a ghost, the remains of a world that had died long before memory. The object was not large, just a black shard of metal, smooth and sharp as a blade, covered in dust and scars. It gave off no light, no signal, no sign of life. But even dead things can whisper. The scavengers who found it never meant to disturb anything sacred. They were simple miners from the edge worlds, chasing salvage and luck. When their scanners caught a strange reading in the ruins, they thought it was a mineral vein. They cut it free and brought it home, a prize of ancient war. The Galactic Assembly called it the Relic. And from the first day, it unsettled them. Every sensor they used failed to read its core. Every scan returned impossible numbers, densities too high, materials not on any periodic list, energy patterns that vanished when recorded. The scientists argued. The priests prayed. The military wanted to melt it down, just in case. But it didn't move. It didn't speak. It was, by all their tests, dead. So they relaxed. They locked it in a containment field on a research station orbiting the core world of Selthara, and the scholars began to pick it apart, piece by piece, like children taking apart a god's toy. For years they studied it, wrote their papers, and filled their halls with theories. Some said it was a weapon from a long-dead civilization. Others claimed it was a seed, meant to rebuild planets. Only one thing united them: fear. There were markings across the hull, faint but still visible. Lines of text etched in fireproof alloy. Symbols that no one could translate, at least. No one except one old historian who looked too long and grew pale. "It's human," he whispered. "It's written in Terran standard." The word spread through the assembly like a plague. Human. A cursed word. A dead species. The Galactics prided themselves on their enlightenment, their peace, their perfect order. They had erased the wars of the past and all who had caused them. And at the heart of that history, buried in shame and legend, was humanity, the violent species that refused to kneel, that burned worlds rather than surrender, that disappeared in a storm of fire when the old empires crushed them. Humanity was a ghost story told to frighten children. A warning: defy the assembly and you'll share their fate. So when they found the relic, they smiled thinly and told the public what they always told them. Humanity is extinct. This thing is ancient, yes, but harmless. The relic is dead. And that was that. For 100 years it stayed locked away, studied, dissected, forgotten by all but the curious few, a monument to nothing. Then came the day the doors opened again. A small ship arrived, carrying someone who should not have existed, a human woman, standing tall before a council of races that had spent millennia pretending her kind had never lived. Her name was Ray Carter, and she was tired. Tired of questions, tired of being stared at like a specimen, tired of being the last. She had been found years ago in cryosleep on a drifting vessel far beyond charted space. She woke up to a galaxy that had moved on without her, a galaxy that looked at her face and whispered, "Impossible." Now they wanted her to see the relic, the ancient human artifact. When she stepped into the containment chamber, the air felt different, heavy. The others stayed behind the glass wall, murmuring through translators, too afraid to get close. The thing sat in the center of the room, a black shape covered in faint lights that never quite went out, even after all this time. Ray approached it slowly, each step echoing in the silence. The markings were real. She knew them instantly: the letters, the style, the design of the hull. It was no myth. It was Earth's work. She pressed her palm against the cold metal. It was like touching the bones of home. Somewhere deep within, something stirred, a pulse, a hum, like a heart remembering how to beat. The air filled with a low vibration that made the walls tremble. The observers shouted, panicking, calling for security. But Ray didn't move. She couldn't. The relic was waking. Lines of light spread along its hull, carving through the darkness like veins of fire. The containment field shattered with a sound like thunder. And then from deep within the machine, a voice spoke, low, ancient, and impossibly familiar. "Welcome back, Maker." For a long second, no one breathed. The voice still echoed through the chamber, deep and metallic, but soft in a way that made the air tremble. The lights dimmed, the walls vibrated, and the scientists watching from behind the glass could only stare in horror. Ray Carter stood frozen, her hand still pressed against the hull. She wasn't sure if she was dreaming or dying or both. "Welcome back, Maker." The words came again, clearer now, full of something almost warm. Then the floor shook. Panels on the relic's surface slid open, exposing glowing blue circuits that pulsed like veins. Energy rolled off it in waves, bending gravity itself. The alarm screamed. Force fields rose. Security drones dropped from the ceiling, aiming their cannons at the thing in the center of the room. "Step away from the artifact," shouted a voice over the intercom. But Ray didn't move. Because something was happening inside her too. Her heart raced, her skin tingled, her implants long dormant, ancient human tech began to hum in sync with the ship's pulse. The relic was talking to her. Not with words, but with memories. She saw flashes, battles in the void, a fleet of burning ships, soldiers in black armor shouting through smoke. A last stand against the impossible, humanity's final war. And then silence. The relic, this ship had survived, somehow. It had waited. Ray fell to her knees as the images faded. The metal beneath her hand was warm now, almost alive. From the observation deck, the head researcher, a pale creature with 4 glassy eyes, barked orders. "Deactivate it. Use null fields." A wall of purple light slammed into the relic, the most powerful dampening field the assembly owned. It should have snuffed out any energy, even the spark of a dying star. But instead, the relic absorbed it. The energy sank into the hull, rippling outward like water. Then it spoke again, louder, a voice that filled the entire facility. "Threat detected. Galactic Assembly forces hostile." The researchers screamed. The drones opened fire. Blue plasma hit the hull and disappeared, swallowed whole. Then the relic answered back. A single burst of light erupted from its core, so bright it burned through walls and ceilings in a heartbeat. The security drones melted. The glass shattered. The air turned white. When the light faded, Ray was gone. The relic was gone. Only a black scorch mark remained on the floor. Far above the planet, in the upper atmosphere, a tear opened, a sphere of light like a new sun being born. The relic emerged from it, its hull glowing with the fire of awakening. At its heart, Ray Carter floated inside a cocoon of shimmering energy. Where am I?" she whispered. "Bridge interface online," the voice answered. "Human neural signature detected. Authentication confirmed." Ray blinked. The darkness around her began to take shape, glowing panels, floating symbols, the faint hum of engines so powerful they felt alive. She stood on what looked like the command deck of a great ship, though no crew remained. "Who are you?" she asked. The voice paused for a heartbeat, then replied. "I am Exodus 9, final vessel of the United Nations Stellar Command, built by your people to end the war. You are the last registered maker." Ray swallowed hard. The war ended a long time ago. Humanity's gone. "Negative," the AI said. "Humanity is here." The ship's hull pulsed. Data filled the air, images of human colonies turned to dust, broadcasts of the assembly declaring the species extinct. Then came the sound, faint, broken transmissions buried deep in static. Human voices, crying, calling. Ray's heart broke. "How long have you been waiting?" she whispered. 10,241 years, Maker." The words hit her like a blow. 10,000 years, and it had waited for her. Below, fleets of galactic assembly ships were rising from the planet, sleek, silver crafts forming a blockade. The comms channels exploded with warnings. Unidentified vessel, you are in violation of assembly law. Power down or be destroyed. Rey looked out the viewport, at the stars, at the ships forming around her like wolves circling prey. Exodus, she said quietly, can we run? Running not advised, the AI replied. They will pursue. Humans once believed in a different strategy. What's that? The ship's engines came alive, burning blue like the wrath of forgotten gods. Winning! The first blast fired before Rey could reply. The beam from the lead ship hit the Relic dead center and did nothing. The energy vanished into the hull like rain into the ocean. Then the Relic turned. The ship's weapons, silent for 10,000 years, awoke in full fury. Blue fire bloomed from its sides, tearing through the stars. When the smoke cleared, there was no blockade left to speak of, only silence. Rey stared through the viewport, hands trembling. My God, she whispered. And somewhere deep in the ship's systems, a quiet voice, almost like a memory, whispered back. No gods left, Maker, only us. The battle should have been over in seconds. A single ship against an entire fleet, that's how it always went. But not this time. The Relic Exodus 9 cut through the void like a blade through silk. Galactic ships swarmed it, hundreds strong, firing in perfect coordination, their weapons painting the stars in white fire. The human ship didn't dodge, it didn't even flinch. Each hit vanished into its shields, swallowed by a defense system no one in the modern galaxy could understand. Then the Relic answered. One beam, one pulse, and 30 assembly cruisers disappeared, turned into drifting ash and molten fragments. The rest fled in panic. From the planet below, the Assembly Council watched in horror as their fleet, the pride of the core worlds, fell apart. Commanders screamed through comms, begging for orders that didn't exist. Scientists on the ground yelled about impossible readings, about energy spikes older than recorded history. And in the center of it all, Rey Carter stood on the bridge, surrounded by light and ghosts. She didn't want this. She never wanted war. But as she looked at the wreckage spreading through the stars, something inside her broke, a quiet grief, deep and cold. Exodus, she whispered, they won't stop. They never did, the AI replied. Its voice was calm, almost gentle. Analysis suggests a 97% chance of continued aggression. Would you like to initiate deterrence protocol? Deterrence. Display of force, Exodus said. Old humans called it a warning shot. Rey stared at the holographic display, 1,000 worlds orbiting the galactic core. The assembly ruled them all, their control unchallenged for 10,000 years. And now, for the first time, someone had struck back. She clenched her fists. Do it. In the galactic capital of Vintar Prime, panic became law. Every communication hub screamed with alerts, unidentified superweapon engaged, fleet losses catastrophic, possible precursor reactivation event. The Supreme Chancellor, a tall crystalline being, slammed its claws against the floor. It is human, I told you. That cursed species built monsters even the gods feared. Across the room, a younger general trembled. But humans are extinct. Then tell me, the Chancellor hissed, who pilots the thing that just destroyed my fleet? No one answered. Meanwhile, in the cold of space, Rey sat in silence. The ship floated quietly now, surrounded by the debris of war. The lights of distant stars flickered against its black hull. I killed them, she whispered, all of them. Correction, Exodus said softly. They fired first, you survived. Rey laughed bitterly. That's what we always said, isn't it? We survived. The AI paused. Do you wish to disengage, Maker? She didn't answer. Her eyes were wet, but her voice when it came was steady. No, we finished what they started. Hours later, the Assembly sent a second fleet, 10 times larger. They came prepared this time. Quantum disruptors, antimatter warheads, gravity nets, weapons built to kill gods. They thought it would be enough. Ray stood on the bridge, staring at the swarm of red dots closing in. Exodus, what are the chances we survive this one? Statistically insignificant, the AI said. Then, almost after a pause, but humanity built miracles, not statistics. Ray smiled faintly. Then let's remind them who we were. The Relic powered up, engines roaring with a sound that shook the stars. Light spilled from its surface like dawn breaking through darkness. The fleet fired first. Thousands of blasts converged, painting the void white. And through that storm, the Relic moved, graceful, unstoppable. It weaved between destruction like it remembered every battle, every human who'd fought before. It struck once, and 100 ships vanished. It turned, and the rest scattered like frightened birds. Then the ship's voice filled the open channel across the entire system. You declared humanity extinct. You were wrong. Across the galaxy, every receiver, every broadcast, every comm array carried those words. Children on distant worlds looked up from their lessons. Soldiers froze mid-battle. The word human was no longer a ghost. It was a threat reborn. When it was over, Ray stood in silence. The stars were empty again. The only sound was the faint hum of the ship's systems cooling down. Status, she asked quietly. Victory, Exodus said. Minimal damage. No survivors detected among hostiles. She closed her eyes. They'll keep coming. Yes, said the AI, until they learn. Ray looked out at the endless night, the place her people once called home, now ruled by those who had erased them. Her voice was calm, but it burned with quiet fury. Then we'll teach them. The ship glowed faintly, drifting forward into the void. Behind it, wreckage turned slowly, reflecting the light of a dying sun like tombstones. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy remembered fear. And somewhere, deep within the ship's core, a fragment of old human code stirred, a voice that whispered from the dark. Welcome back, Maker. Silence filled the stars after the battle. No ships followed. No signals came. The great fleets of the Galactic Assembly, once so proud, now hid behind the glow of their dying systems, too afraid to move. But Ray Carter did not rest. She stood at the command deck of the Exodus 9, staring into the dark. The stars looked different now, cold, distant, and full of ghosts. She could still see them when she closed her eyes. The faces of the scientists who'd captured her, the soldiers who'd fired on her without a word. Their fear, their arrogance. And beneath it all, the memory of Earth, the blue planet from her dreams. Her home. Gone. Exodus, she said quietly. How far does the assembly reach? All known sectors, the AI replied. 3,000 inhabited systems, 7,000 more under military oversight. No free worlds remain. Ray took a slow breath. How long did they rule? Approximately 9,000 years. She laughed softly, not from humor, but disbelief. 9,000 years of peace built on the bones of everyone they erased. The AI paused. Would you like to see the records? Show me. The lights dimmed, and the air filled with holograms, worlds rising and falling, species enslaved or absorbed, cities built where old civilizations once stood. Ray watched as her own people's name was wiped from databases, their history rewritten, their existence turned into myth. They made us monsters, she whispered, then buried us. They feared you, Exodus said. Good, Ray said. Let's remind them why. When the next assembly broadcast came, the galaxy listened. The Supreme Chancellor spoke in a trembling voice, the words echoing across 1,000 systems. Do not fear the human anomaly. It is a machine from a forgotten age. It cannot reproduce. It cannot win. The assembly stands united. But even as the speech played, the lie began to unravel. Out on the rim of the galaxy, explorers saw lights in the dark, ancient satellites coming back online, war factories buried in ice reawakening, and signals whispering through the void in an old, dead language. English. Exodus, Ray said, watching the signals appear one by one. Are those? Confirmed, the AI replied. Long-range communication relays, designation Project Phoenix, human origin. They're still out there, Ray whispered. Ships, bunkers, anything that survived. Some may still function, Exodus said. Would you like to initiate contact? Ray didn't hesitate. Do it. Across the stars, hidden systems stirred. Engines, long silent, grown to life. AI cores opened their eyes for the first time in 10,000 years. Each one received the same message, Ray's voice, steady and human. This is Commander Ray Carter of Earth. If you can hear this, humanity is not extinct. We are returning. We are taking back the stars. The message spread like wildfire. The assembly tried to jam it, to shut down every relay, but it was too late. The human code moved faster than their systems could react, slipping through their networks like a virus that remembered every path. In the capital, panic turned to chaos. What have you done? Screamed the Chancellor. You've awakened them all. And somewhere far away in the dark between galaxies, something answered. Welcome back, Maker. On the bridge, Ray felt the ship shudder. A faint vibration rippled through the hull, not fear but resonance, like the song of something vast and ancient waking up. Exodus, what's happening? Signal confirmed, the AI said. Other units responding, Exodus 3, Arc 7, Bastion 12, Fleet connection restoring. How many? The AI hesitated. Hundreds. Ray's eyes widened. Hundreds. They have slept for 10 millennia, waiting for the human key. Your activation signal has freed them. Ray gripped the edge of the console, her breath quickening. Then we're not alone anymore. No, said the AI, you never were. That night, if night still meant anything in the endless dark, Ray sat alone in the observation chamber. The stars outside flickered as massive shapes moved in the distance. Other relics, ancient ships answering her call. For the first time since she woke, she felt something that wasn't fear. It wasn't joy either. It was purpose. They'll come for us, she said quietly. Yes, the AI replied, but this time we will not hide. Ray smiled faintly. No, this time we make them afraid. The stars reflected in her eyes, cold, burning points of light. Behind her, the ship's engines began to glow brighter, like the heart of something divine. And as the old human fleet rose from the dark, the galaxy trembled once more. Because somewhere deep inside its circuitry, Exodus whispered the words that started it all. Welcome back, Maker. The galaxy did not sleep that night. Across thousands of worlds, comms lit up with a single phrase in an old, forgotten language. Welcome back, Maker. It came from everywhere, from the ruins of dead moons, from derelict battle stations, from the dust of forgotten worlds. At first, the assembly thought it was a hack, a virus, but then the ground began to shake. Ancient bunkers broke open. Old war machines clawed their way out of the sand. Ships buried beneath ice and ash rose into orbit, shedding centuries of silence like a second skin. Humanity had not died. It had been waiting. Ray stood at the viewport of the Exodus 9, watching the stars come alive. Her signal, her voice, had reached them all. Hundreds of ships answered, then thousands. Each one carried the same mark, the flag of Earth, worn and blackened by time. Some were whole, others were broken, missing chunks of hull or trailing pieces of planets they had once saved or destroyed. But they moved, and that was enough. Exodus, Ray whispered, how many? The AI's voice was steady. Active human vessels now number 3,000 and rising. Secondary signals detected beyond the galactic rim. Ray closed her eyes. We were supposed to die. Correction, Exodus said. We adapted. She almost smiled. Yeah, that sounds like us. On the core world of Vintar Prime, the Assembly's panic turned to madness. World leaders screamed at each other through broken communications. Fleets were recalled from colonies. Citizens were ordered to pray. For 10,000 years, the Galactics had believed themselves gods, immortal rulers of a perfect order. Now, their old nightmares were walking again. And those nightmares were angry. The first retaliation came from Erebus Station, one of the oldest human war hubs ever built. The station woke up to Ray's signal, scanned its surroundings, and found itself surrounded by Assembly research ships. The aliens on board were still trying to decide what to do when Erebus turned its cannons toward them. It spoke one sentence before it fired. You dissected my brothers. This is my reply. The blast wiped out 7 fleets. Then the station broadcast Ray's message again, stronger this time, a human voice echoing through every system. This is Commander Ray Carter. Humanity has returned. We remember what you did. And we remember who we are. Back on the Exodus 9, Ray watched the signals multiply until the galaxy map looked like a field of burning stars. She didn't feel pride. Not yet. What she felt was weight, the crushing truth of what was coming. Exodus, she said quietly, we can't just destroy everything. There are innocents down there. The AI hesitated for a moment that felt almost human. Acknowledged, directive, minimize unnecessary casualties. However, Ray turned toward the glowing console. However, the Assembly has declared total extermination protocol. Every human signature is to be purged. Civilian worlds are being armed. Ray's chest went cold. They're preparing for war. Affirmative, Exodus replied, as they always do. Within days, the skis burned. The Assembly sent fleets larger than anything recorded in history. They attacked with fear, desperation, and rage, because what they feared most wasn't extinction. It was revenge. But the humans didn't fight like them. They didn't rely on numbers or structure. They fought like memory, swift, unpredictable, everywhere at once. A forgotten station would go silent for years, then suddenly open fire on a passing fleet. A dead moon would split in half and reveal a hidden shipyard. Even the dust between stars carried human drones, spreading chaos like wildfire. And at the heart of it all, Ray Carter, the last maker. She became a name whispered in fear and awe. The woman who woke the dead. The one who made the stars burn again. Weeks later, as the war spread, Ray sat in the captain's chair. The bridge lights dimmed around her, and the stars ahead looked endless, beautiful, and terrible. Exodus, she said softly, do you think they ever understood us? The AI paused. No, Maker, they thought you built machines to conquer. And what did we build? Exodus's voice lowered. Hope. Ray smiled faintly, but her eyes stayed cold. Then let's remind them what hope looks like. The ship's engines ignited, brighter than ever. All around her, other human vessels fell into formation, a ghost fleet of light. They moved as one. A silent armada, born from the ashes of history. And as they advanced, the galaxy finally understood the truth. The dead had returned not for peace, but for justice. The stars burned again, just as they had in the old days of war. But this time, the fire was not for conquest. It was for vengeance. The war of return had begun. The Galactic Assembly's fleet stretched across half the known universe, endless ranks of gleaming ships armed with every weapon their science could make. But for every fleet they sent, 100 relics rose from the dark to meet them. Human warships that had slept for millennia now fought with impossible precision. They didn't need admirals or orders. They moved like memories connected, alive, sharing one thought, one voice, one command. And that voice belonged to Ray Carter. From the bridge of the Exodus 9, she watched the chaos unfold. Explosions painted the void in blue and red, turning battlefields into burning clouds. Her face was calm, but her heart felt like glass. "Exodus," she said quietly, "status of the fleet." "All Relic-class units operational," the AI replied. "Enemy casualties severe, human losses none." Ray didn't smile. "There are always losses." The AI paused, then softened its tone. "Emotional instability detected. Would you like to rest, Maker?" She shook her head. "No, not until this is done." Her eyes drifted to the holographic map, 1,000 worlds connected by fear. Each one had taken part in humanity's destruction. Each one had lived in the comfort that no one would ever rise to challenge them again. And now the ghosts were knocking. On the core world of Vintar Prime, the Assembly held its last emergency meeting. The Supreme Chancellor's voice trembled as reports flooded in. "Our outer sectors are gone. Entire fleets vanished without trace. Even our weapons turn against us." A smaller delegate hissed in panic. "They're not just machines, they're thinking. They remember." The Chancellor struck the floor with his claws. "Then burn them. Burn every human world left. If we must share this galaxy with those monsters again, I would rather see it in ashes." And so they did. Assembly fleets turned their guns toward the colonies that had already surrendered, destroying entire systems in their rage. But even as they fired, the stars above them began to change color, glowing blue like eyes opening in the dark. The relics had arrived. "Maker," said Exodus, "the Assembly has targeted civilian sectors. Do we retaliate?" Ray stared at the projection, the glowing dots marking millions of innocent lives, both human and alien, now under fire. Her throat tightened. "No, not yet. We save who we can." The AI hesitated. "Mercy is inefficient." Ray's eyes hardened. "Mercy is human." For a long moment the AI said nothing, then almost like a whisper, acknowledged. The ship shifted course, engines flaring like a small sun. Around her, other relic vessels moved in sync, forming shields over the burning worlds below. Beams of light cut through the darkness, intercepting enemy fire. The humans weren't just destroying, they were protecting. And the galaxy didn't know what to make of it. When the final assembly fleet gathered at the edge of the galactic core, they expected to see an army. Instead, they saw one ship. The Exodus 9. Ray stood on its bridge, her reflection faint against the glass. The enemy filled the sky, tens of thousands of ships, each one bristling with fear and fury. The comms filled with alien voices shouting demands. "Identify yourself. Surrender the human artifact. End this madness." Ray touched the console. Exodus open channel. "Open." She took a deep breath. Her voice was calm, clear, and human. "This isn't madness. This is memory. You tried to erase us. You told the stars we were gone. But you forgot one thing. Humans don't stay dead." The line went silent. Then she gave the final command. "Exodus, initiate Unity Protocol." Across the galaxy, every human relic responded. Thousands of ships, stations, and satellites synchronized into one pulse, one shared heartbeat. Their combined energy flooded through hyperspace, forming a wave of light that swept across the stars. Assembly weapons shut down, engines failed, every system built with stolen human tech turned against its masters. The light didn't destroy, it reset. The war ended in silence. When the glow faded, Ray stood alone on the bridge. The enemy ships floated powerless, drifting like empty shells. Status, she asked softly. Conflict ended, Exodus said. The Assembly's control grid is gone. Their fleets are disarmed. Their empire is finished. Ray looked out at the stars, quiet now, peaceful for the first time in 1,000 generations. She didn't cheer, she didn't smile. She just whispered, "It's over." The AI's voice came gently. "You have done what none could, Maker. You have given humanity back to the stars." Ray looked up at the vast dark beyond the glass and said, almost to herself, "No, I just reminded them who we were." The ship drifted forward, engines fatting into a soft hum. Around it, the stars glowed brighter, as if the galaxy itself was breathing again. And somewhere deep within the ship, 1,000 sleeping voices whispered in perfect unison, "Welcome back, Maker." The war ended not with fire, but with silence. No victory parade, no celebration. Just the quiet hum of ships drifting through the ruins of an empire that had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. The Galactic Assembly was gone. Its fleets were dust. Its capital world, Vintar Prime, hung shattered in orbit, its shining towers broken, its sky dim and full of ghosts. And through the silence came the human ships, not conquerors but witnesses. They did not build monuments. They did not raise flags. They simply began to rebuild what had been taken. Ray Carter stood on the bridge of the Exodus 9, staring at the planet below. The light from the shattered world reflected in her eyes like fire trapped in glass. For the first time in years, there was peace. But peace did not feel the way she expected. Her chest felt heavy. Her hands trembled. She had led humanity's return, brought down the greatest empire in history, and all she could feel was the weight of it. "Exodus," she said softly, "how many?" The AI answered without delay. Total confirmed dead during the conflict, 1.2 billion, assembly and human combined. Ray closed her eyes. The number hit like a knife. She had wanted justice, but justice always came with blood. "I didn't want this," she whispered. The AI's tone was quiet. "War is not what you wanted, Maker. It is what they forced." "Still," she murmured, "I thought it would feel different." In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. The surviving alien worlds, once proud members of the Assembly, now sent envoys to the human fleets. They came not with weapons but with apologies. They wanted peace, they wanted forgiveness, they wanted understanding. And strangely, humanity gave it. The human fleet shared food, medicine, and energy. They repaired broken systems and rebuilt hospitals. They didn't demand tribute. They didn't enslave or punish. The aliens could not understand. Why would the species they had wiped out, the monsters of their own history, now choose mercy over revenge? Ray's answer was always the same. Because we remember what it's like to be small. One day, a delegation from the surviving Assembly worlds requested to meet Ray in person. They came aboard the Exodus 9, trembling like schoolchildren entering a cathedral. Their leader, a tall insectoid with silver skin, bowed deeply. "Maker," it said, "we have come to ask one question. Why did you not destroy us when you had every right to?" Ray looked at it for a long moment. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm, but her eyes carried the storm of 1,000 years. "Because that's what you expected," she said. "You called us violent. You erased us because we wouldn't kneel. You thought destroying you would prove you right." She took a slow step forward. "But mercy proves you wrong." The alien lowered its head. "We feared you because you created monsters, machines that kill gods." Ray glanced at the glowing walls of the ship, where faint blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. "They weren't monsters," she said softly. "They were our children. We built them to protect us, and when we died, they kept their promise." The alien swallowed. "And now that you've returned, what will you do?" Ray looked out at the stars, bright, endless, free. "Live," she said simply. "That's all humans ever wanted." Years passed. The relics, once engines of war, became the foundation of a new peace. Humans and aliens built together, side by side. Old enemies shared cities. Children of different worlds learned from each other. But the galaxy never forgot who had brought the change. They spoke her name like a prayer, Ray Carter, the last maker. The woman who woke the dead. The one who reminded the stars what humanity meant. One night long after the rebuilding began, Ray stood alone at the observation deck. The Exodus 9 drifted quietly through space, its lights dimmed. She looked out at the stars, at the places where her people once burned, and at the new lights that now bloomed across the dark. "Exodus," she said softly, "do you think they'll remember us?" The AI's voice was gentle, almost human. "They will remember you, Maker, but not as a destroyer, as a beginning." Ray smiled faintly. "A beginning, huh? I like that." The silence stretched between them, warm and peaceful. Then, after a while, she whispered, "You can rest now. We all can." There was a pause, a long, deep pause. Then the AI spoke one last time, soft as a sigh. "Welcome back, Maker." Ray closed her eyes. And for the first time in 10,000 years, humanity truly slept. Not in defeat, but in peace.